He's a Rockstar. Appreciated the return to a sounder surface at Ascot on Sunday. He'd won his bumper last spring nicely, and he'd made a satisfactory start at Taunton over hurdles in November. But the track and trip were on the tight side then, and we ended up running him at Exeter on New Year's Day, where it just you could see very early on that he was not happy in the ground conditions, and so that's why we've waited for better ground, and we're hopeful that he could run a good race in what was probably quite a strong maiden for the time of year, over 2.5 miles at Ascot, and so it was great to see him. You could see early on he was travelling and jumping so much better, and what I really loved about his performance was his will to win from the back of the last to having been headed, get back up in front and win going away. So he's a lovely young horse that we'll look to go again this spring with, possibly at Cheltenham's April meeting. They've got a Class 2 novice hurdle over a similar distance, 2.5 miles, and he's one that you could look at something like a Persian War in at the start of next season, the early autumn campaign, whilst before the ground gets too testing. So he's a horse that, yeah, we had high hopes for, and so it was good to get him back on track, and ultimately, hopefully, he's going to make up into a lovely chaser. That's what he's from a chasing family, and so yeah, good to see him, as I said, get back on track and onwards and upwards, as they say. Winter Watch runs in the first at Taunton. He's run actually his last two races there over 2 miles, but this step up in trip should definitely suit him. And the handicap has been quietly dropping him, so I think he can hopefully be very competitive in that grade of race. And on the same card, we've got Arnell, who makes her third start over fences back in Mayor's company, and that'll suit her the trip. She was third over on her chasing debut at Fakenham, and again in that grade of race, I'd like to think she can be very competitive, with Ben Bromley taking 5 off again. And then on Wednesday, we've got Great Snow going to Wincanton. Her season hasn't gone according to plan, but although the ground's possibly going to be a bit slower than what we really want, she's well in herself at home, and needs to run. And this race on Wednesday is a qualifier for a mare's handicap at Cheltenham's April meeting, where we're sure to get her sort of favourite sort of spring ground. So Wednesday's really a means to an end, but I'd like to think she'll put up a better performance than what she's done so far, and use it as a stepping stone into as I said, the spring with that race at Cheltenham's April meeting in mind. So on Easter Sunday, we're set to go to Plumpton, where we hope the ground conditions stay as they are, which would be ideal for Gin Coco. He likes better ground, and you can forget his last run, Doncaster, running back too soon after his success at Ascot. So it's a valuable prize. We were runner-up in the race, the Sussex Champion Hurdle last season with Get Back, Get Back. And I'd be hopeful that Gin Coco, after a bit of a break, can run a very good race. He always goes well fresh. So, but I think the two key things for him are freshness and good ground. So if we get both of those, hopefully he'll be very competitive. And on the same card, we've got Outer Belly, who could step back up in trip, having been running over 2 miles this season, albeit 2.5 round Plumpton. It's not that sort of bigger jump in trip as it might be on a stiffer track, for example. So we're looking to see him bounce back from a below par run at Newbury in the Betfair Hurdle. But that was one of the reasons we've sort of gone for this race on Sunday. Hopefully, slightly less competitive than a Betfair Hurdle, although it's good prize money on offer, so it's still going to take some winning. So Cheltenham, we had high hopes for Gidley Park. Unfortunately, though, the Albert Bartlett, we only finished sixth, where the race wasn't run to suit when conditions went as testing as they did. The steady pace was not ideal for us. He's a big galloping, striding horse, and he just over raced and didn't give himself a chance to see out the trip or get involved in the finish of the race. So I mean, he didn't disgrace himself, but it wasn't the performance we were hoping for. But ultimately, it's always been about chasing with him, and that's what we look forward to doing with him now. He won't run again this season. He'll do some schooling over fences at home, and we'll turn him away for the summer with a novice chasing campaign in mind for next season, which we're very much looking forward to. And another runner at Cheltenham in Excelsius Deo, who flew home after the last to finish fast finishing fifth. It was only beaten just under 5 lengths. He's got an entry in the Topham Chase at Aintree. This is Grand National meeting, and so he's one that we could look forward to taking to that meeting, along with the likes of Boot Hill, who didn't get to run at Cheltenham on the slow ground, and Anno Powers, another that we could form part of the team for the national meeting. I think it'll be slightly self because you won't have the same volume of Irish trained horses. Yes, there'll be Irish trained horses at obviously running at the national meeting, but there won't be the same volume of Irish horses. I mean, everyone misses that point from Cheltenham. If you actually look at the sheer number of Irish trained horses at the Cheltenham Festival, they yeah, more than the English, British trained horses. So it's no wonder they had more winners. They had more runners. But so I think, I mean, in terms of obviously, yeah, the slightly one-sided look to the results, but from Cheltenham won't necessarily be replicated at Aintree, but because yeah, although there will be Irish trained horses and particularly obviously in the Grand National, but for the rest of the meeting, where there's some very good racing and prize money on offer, I think it won't be quite as one-sided and albeit, I mean, people forget that Nicky Henderson is one of the leading obviously leading trainers in this country. His team were laid low by a bug of some sort, and so for his 18 to be missing from Cheltenham was a big thing, and if they're backing on song for Aintree and the rest of the spring, that'll make a difference. And likes of Paul Nichols and always has a strong team for Aintree, and obviously Dan Skelton, who had a great Cheltenham himself. I mean, those two are going to be going hammer and tong for the trainers' titles. So expect to see plenty of runners from both of them, and sure to be competitive and a really good meeting.